Now we're going to talk about the last stage of memory. So we did encoding, we did storage. Now let's talk about retrieval. And this is the getting of information out of storage, right? Getting information out of storage. Retrieval refers to getting information out of memory store. It is there, but how do we get it out to be able to use it? So we get it out and are able to use it because of retrieval cues. Retrieval cues are stimuli that help people to get information from long-term memory. So if I say to you, Coca-Cola, what do you think of? Maybe you think of like the polar bear commercial or some of their really cool commercials recently. And that Coca-Cola just served as a cue to make you think of certain things. Okay, anything can serve as a cue. So think of these cues like search terms one would use in like Google, an internet search engine, such as, or clues to help you find your stored memories. Okay, so retrieval cues, memories held in storage by a web of associations, and that all of our memories are somehow linked to each other. And these associations are like anchors that help retrieve memory. Retrieval cues are only as good as the memory itself, though. So retrieval will depend upon the type of memory and how well it is encoded and stored. So let's talk about types of retrieval. In recognition, the person has to identify an item amongst other items. So you just have to recognize, you just have to identify the information given to you. So an example is a multiple choice test that requires recognition. So name the capital of France. Well, it's on this slide here. You just have to pick out which one it is, right? Types of retrieval. In recall, the person must retrieve information using effort. An example being fill in the blank. A fill in the blank or even an essay requires recall because the information isn't there. No word bank, right? It isn't there. So hopefully you remember the capital of Germany. I'm not giving you options. You just have to recall it as Berlin. A recall exercise would be, okay, tell me all 50 states. Okay, I'm not going to give you any hints or any cues. I'm not going to have you recognize the states amongst a list. You just have to recall them. So talking about the types of retrieval, we need to talk about relearning. In relearning, the individual shows how much time or effort is saved when learning material a second time. So it took 10 trials to learn this list of words. And then they took a day's rest. And then it took 5 trials to learn the list again. And that it only takes half the time to relearn information. So that's kind of cool, and then it shows you if you just rehearse the information and relearn the next day, you're going to get it much faster. Okay, look at this picture. Okay, look at this picture. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Spell the word bear. Spell it on your paper. You are probably spelling it B-E-A-R, right? You are not spelling it B-A-R-E. What I have done here is primed you. I have primed you with a stimulus, the picture of this bear, in order to respond a certain way to what I was telling you to do. So priming is the procedure of providing cues that stimulate memories without awareness of the connection between the cue and the retrieved memory. So again, it's a cue. It's some kind of stimulus that makes you respond in a certain way. It's often referred to as memoryless memory because it is done without our conscious awareness, yet it predisposes us to interpret or recall information in a certain way. Context effects. Scuba divers recalled more words underwater if they learned the list underwater than if they recalled it on land. So what this says is that you will recall information better if you are recalling it in the same context that you learned it. So if you're sitting, let's say like on a test, you're going to be sitting at a desk taking a test, right? That says that as you're taking these notes and learning the information, you should be sitting at a desk learning the information. Kind of makes sense. So if this is true, then how should you study? Kind of like this, right? Like not in your bed lying down. The bottom line, the more closely the retrieval cues match the form in which the information was encoded the better the information will be remembered. Déja vu means I've experienced this before. Most of you have probably experienced this. Cues from the current situation or context may unconsciously trigger retrieval of an earlier similar experience. The idea being that the neural network in your brain is so similar to what's going on right now that it triggers that previous memory. And you think to yourself, wow, have I done this before? Mood-congruent memory is a tendency to recall information or experiences that are consistent with one's current mood. So if you are happy or in a good mood, let's say every time you're in AP Psychology, you are more likely to recall happy or positive events while in that good mood. Okay, so while a bad mood will bring about sad or negative memories, because the last time you were in that bad mood, you were in that sad, negative experience. So emotions or mood serve as retrieval cues. We are more likely, what this is saying is that we're more likely to remember negative things when we're in a negative mood. So it's kind of like that ugly cycle, almost like in a depressive state. Tip of the tongue phenomenon is the inability to recall a word or idea while knowing it is in your memory. This is, oh my gosh, I know what it is. It's right there. I just can't get it out. This is a retrieval failure. Most common items of TOT are names and familiar objects. So why does it happen? It's probably due to interference during recall. There's a poor match between the cue and encoding of the information. So can you name the 7 dwarfs or like the state capitals? You might say, oh, it's right there. I just can't get it out. That's because you don't have a proper cue, or maybe it was not properly encoded in the first place.